First ever Moto2 world champion Tony Elias in the background there, who's going to be part of this winning ceremony. Seems like so long ago, doesn't it, that Tony Elias on the Morowaki as the first ever 125cc world champion. We're of course celebrating 500 Grand Prix racing together of Dorna, the MSMA, FIM and IRTA. We've got some of the stars of the last 500 Grand Prix here this weekend. But the rider who will go down as the winner in Moto2 of that 500th Grand Prix is Tony Arbolino. Very rarely will you see a more excited winner than that. As I mentioned, the first ever 125 champion of the Racing Together era, Alessandro Gramini, hands over the winning Constructors' Trophy. Mark VDS take their first victory of the season. Now for a moment that Jake Dixon has been waiting his whole life for, on a Grand Prix podium for the first time. The third place trophy at the Circuit of the Americas. Major General Garrett Lee from the US Armed Services hands over the trophy to the Brit. That will certainly take pride of place in the Dixon household. Second place then, the first ever Moto2 world champion and the 2017 Moto America champion Tony Elias hands the trophy over to Ayagura, who's firmly in world championship contention this season, isn't he? But for Tony Arbolino, a first ever Moto2 victory. The president of the AMA, Rob Dingman, hands over the trophy. Tony, you did it, baby. He is a Moto2 Grand Prix winner.
And now, the national anthem of Italy.
Tony Arbolino then celebrates from the top step of the podium here at the end of a truly dramatic Red Bull Grand Prix of the Americas. Congratulations to the Elf Mark Vidas Racing team, back to winning ways for the first time in 2022. The Prosecco will taste pretty sweet then here in Texas for Tony Arbolino, Ayagura and Jake Dixon, three very popular riders on the podium here to kick off our race day here in COTA. Still to come in about 40 minutes time, the big one, the Premier Class boys tackle COTA over 20 laps, and finishing our race day schedule here today in the World Championship will be Moto3 with another round of the Moto America Series to complete the action. But it's Tony Arbolino that's victorious for the first time in Moto2.
Tony Arbolino kept his head and took the victory, 3.5 seconds clear of Ayagura. A first Moto2 podium then for Jake Dixon in third. Marcel Schrotter, after a pretty dramatic start to the Grand Prix, he came home in fourth after Cameron Bobier's unfortunate last lap crash. Jorge Navarro and Jeremy Alcoba completing your top six ahead of Ben Schneider, Joe Roberts and Augusto Fernandez. Barry Baltus, a very impressive 10th ahead of Albert Arenas, whose race really was finished on the first lap. He recovered to 11th ahead of Marcos Ramirez and Manuel Gonzalez. Philip Salac and Romano Fenati were your last point scorers ahead of Dalla Porta and Sean Dillon Kelly. Cameron Bobier crashing just 4 corners from home when on course for 4th position. Nicolo Antonelli pulled in with apparent physical problems. Aaron Canet and Celestino Vietti, who were both on course to lead the World Championship out of here, both crashing out, which leaves Vietti still on top, as we'll show you in just a moment. A number of casualties on the very first lap. Vietti then maintains his lead. It's been cut to 14 points though as Ayagura jumps 2 places into second. Arbolino up 3. He moves up into third as Canet and Chantra drop places, having crashed out of this Grand Prix. Sam Lowe's taken out by Chantra. He's now 6th, just ahead of his fellow Brit Jake Dixon. Marcel Schrotter into the top 10, having finished 4th here today. Navarro also climbs up to 11th ahead of Albert Arenas. Bo Ben Schneider also on the move. He's up to 14th after he finished up in 7th position today. Jeremy Alcoba in 16th, just ahead of Fermin Aldeguer, who has no points to show for 2 pretty impressive weekends in Argentina and America. Baltus on 6th ahead of Ramirez and Gonzalez. Philip Salac and Romano Fenati also on the board with 2 points apiece. Idemitsu Honda Team Asia, they retain the lead of the Teams Championship. Ayagura scoring 20 points for them today. Elfmark VDS Racing lift themselves up into second, and Flexbox HB40, despite losing Aaron Canet from what looked a likely victory, they overtake Mooney VR46 into third. RW Racing GP, they're on the board with 6 points. They registered their first points of the season today, courtesy of Barry Baltus. Calix maintain their perfect start to the season, 100 points out of a possible 100. Tony Arbolino taking victory for them today. Boscoscuro, they did register a point today with Romano Fanati coming home in 15th position. MV Augusta also scoring points. Marcos Ramirez finished 12th for them today.
So home hero Cam Beaubier started his home Grand Prix here in Kota from pole position and made a really good launch at the start of that 18-lap race. Celestino Vietti, the world championship leader, was aggressive on his inside into turn one. Marcel Schrotter, over-aggressive, picking up Spaniards Alberto Arenas and Fermin Aldeguer in that first corner. Beaubier was quickly pushed back down to 4th place before there was drama at the end of the back straight for the first time. Somkiat Chantra slamming into Britain's Sam Lowes, and then further back, more drama as Fermin Aldeguer was also caught up with Gabi Rodrigo and Sonta van der Gorberg. 5 riders out on the very first lap. Celestino Vietti then led by over half a second as the race started to get into gear, with Arbolino in second spot. This was the moment when Aaron Canet swept up the inside of Celestino Vietti, the 2 top men in the World Championship coming into this Kota clash, slunging it out at the front. Pedro Acosta was having a superb ride in 5th place when he went down at turn 5. Ayagura doing a great job there to take evasive action. The Japanese man quickly recovering to get himself into podium contention. Celestino Vietti's first big mistake of the season then. He was down and out at turn 6. Hard take for the Mooney VR46 squad. Aaron Canet then at this moment was the race leader by 1.7 seconds and on course to take over as the World Championship leader, but disaster struck the Spaniard. He crashed out at turn 7. That put Arbolino clear at the front. He was to take a famous victory. Beaubier's disappointing day was completed when he went down out of a potential career best 4th on the very last lap when he was fighting with Marcel Schrotter. But Tony Arbolino crossed the line first to take his first victory in the Moto2 World Championship. The Italian's 5th Grand Prix success, 3.4 seconds clear of Ayagura, who moves up to 2nd in the World Championship, with Jake Dixon, the Gas Aspar team rider, celebrating his first World Championship podium. But it's Tiger Tony who triumphed in Texas. He's our race winner in Moto2 here at the Circuit of the Americas.